Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Live 5, brought to you by Doane Studios. I'm your host, Kennerly Benraty. I work here in the Advancement Office, Doane University, if you didn't know. Today, we have Quint Geis as our special guest. He is the director of a lot of things. Primarily, he's the one going to be in charge of, coming up very, very soon, orientation, move-in, boom, it's here. I know all of you are excited, so Quint's going to share a little bit about orientation and what that's going to look like with us. We're going to ask him our live 5 questions that he has completely no idea what they are. That's going to be fun. But first and foremost, I would like to let you all know we are practicing social distancing and CDC guidelines. All of our crew behind us have masks on. Me and Quint don't have masks on because you wouldn't be able to see our smile, and that's the only reason why. No, because we can't have an interview with masks. But as you can see, we're about 6 feet apart. It's 6 feet and about 5.5 centimeters to be exact, if you were wondering. I did measure. So with that being said, I hope you all are ready for a wonderful episode we have for you today. We'll kick things off. Quint, why don't you talk a little bit about yourself, introduce yourself. How's it going, man?
It's going really, really well, Kennerly. I appreciate the opportunity to come on.
Yeah.
And at this point, you're pretty much a celebrity. So I mean, this feels like a big deal to me. So I was nervous about this coming on with you as the great host.
Yeah. Really.
So I'm excited. So I appreciate it. I'm humbled to be able to be on the show.
The fame and pressure does keep me up at night. If you were wondering.
I can see the bags. You're a little tired this morning. I can feel that.
Thank God for my my skincare.
That's right. Yeah. Got to stay on top of that.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to talk a little bit about orientation.
Yeah.
Like Kennerly said, my name's Quint Geis, Director of Career Leadership and Service.
Yep.
So primarily what that means is I oversee orientation. I also oversee all of our leadership programs here on campus, as well as our career-oriented work, so anything around our College to Career Center, and our service opportunities, so volunteering, service learning trips, stuff like that. Primarily, the focus for today is being able to talk a little bit about what orientation looks like, as that's a big event coming up, and being able to kind of give some insight on that. But I actually am a Doane alum. I graduated from Doane in 2013. Wow. And I recently came back to campus about a little more than 2 years ago. Yeah. And so just really excited to be back on campus. And I think for me, I'm excited about kind of this moment in time is a really unique one on a college campus, right? And there's not really much to look to as precedent for what this time is. And so I think I'm really excited about that specifically for orientation, because while there's lots of challenges and new things we have to work out and things like that, we also get to create something really new in comparison to what has existed, right? And we have to be creative and think outside the box. And I think that's honestly going to lead to a really cool experience for students on campus. I'm blessed to actually be married to a Doane alum as well.
Woo!
Yeah, that's right. Met here on campus.
There we go.
Actually met as members of the Directions Leadership Program.
There we go.
So that was a fun way to connect, and my wife graduated the year after me, so in 2014. Yeah. Is an educator now in the Lincoln Public School System.
Awesome. Like
so many of our great Doane alum, right?
Education is just
so many. It's such a significant part of so many students' experiences. So, I'm just excited to be here, to get a chance to chat with you and to share with folks at home a little bit about what's coming up.
Yeah, and we're excited to do that. Doane University, the place where you can find your significant other.
There you go.
So keep that in mind. Be on the lookout, all right? So, orientation 2020.
Yeah.
Boom, it's here. I mean, we're literally like 5 minutes away from it.
It feels like it.
It
does.
What is orientation for those who don't know what that is?
For sure, absolutely, yeah. So, orientation's coming up less than a week.
Right.
It's crazy to think, but, a week from today would be move-in for all of our new students. And so it's happening, it's happening.
It just zoomed by.
This summer is one of those, and I'm sure everybody feels this way, it's just one of those weird summers, right? Where you're just like, there was no markers or indicators for normal summer.
Right.
And so, just excited. So basically, orientation is a 4-day experience where students are assigned to their orientation groups, which are actually their LAR 101 classes they signed up for. And basically, they get to know that group of students well during their orientation time, as well as participate in activities and programs with the whole class, right? So it's this focus on saying, hey, you're a new student, you're coming in, and we want to help you get adjusted. And so that 4-day period is really jam-packed, full of lots of different things, but the focus is on saying, this is a point of transition.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it.
Right.
You're going to be in a totally new environment.
Yeah.
And even for our local Crete students coming to Doane,
right.
you know, it's still different.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah.
There's a lot about campus that isn't the same in the community, right?
Yeah.
And so it's a new experience for everyone.
Yeah.
And so it's about saying, okay, this transition is a big moment. We recognize that. And we believe that setting you up for the kind of the right opportunities in the future is just going to really pay dividends.
Yeah.
And so we invest a lot of resources into those first 4 days.
Yeah.
And it's before classes have started. And really, we've kind of looked around and said, like, well, okay, what are our essential things you need to know? Mm-hmm. If we're talking about your success in the first 2 weeks, just getting your feet on the ground, what's most essential, right? And so what you'd see then for the students is just a lot of programming focused on saying, these are kind of our core things.
Yeah.
It's not like the last time you're ever going to hear from this office or the last time you're going to engage with this person, but this is essential to get your feet on the ground, because we just know that transition period is going to bring a bunch of other challenges with it. Yeah. And so Doane, I think, historically has always done a really great job with orientation.
Yeah.
I remember, my orientation experience. I remember being an orientation leader, and I think from when we've, reached out to our students and to parents and loved ones about it, it's always been a really positive thing. Yeah. And so for us, it's this focus on saying, you're going to start this new thing. We know that's true. And we want you to start thinking more about what this place is going to be for you. Yeah. Because I think if students take the time to actually ask themselves those questions, what we find is that a month later, they're in a much better place than the student who hasn't asked themselves any of those questions, because they've actually started to assess for themselves, okay, this is my community now. What are the ideals of the community? Right. What do I want? What do I want my experience to be? Right. In a lot of ways, who do I want to be? Yeah. Because you really do get in many ways to reinvent the narrative of who you are. Yeah. You may have some things coming in, some things you're scholarship for, some things you're going to be involved in, maybe your major that has some narrative, but no one's, definingly walking around being like, you're only this or you're only that. Yeah. That's like the least done thing in the world. Everybody's a multiple of identities, and they have different hats they wear at different times. Right. And so for us, it's really just saying we believe in a peer-to-peer education system. And so every group, every LAR class has 2 orientation leaders who are with that group during that time. Yeah. And really it's about saying, like, sure, you could hear from me. I could get you set up in an auditorium here on campus, and I could just yap at you about you should do this and you should do that, and have you thought about this, and what is your thoughts there? But really, the much more effective route is saying there are peers here who care so much about this place and about the community that's being established, that they've volunteered their time. Like, these students who are OLs are not being compensated for being an orientation leader. Yeah. They are just honestly saying, I believe in the community. I think this is a good thing, and I want to contribute to it. Yeah. And so what you see is just like a lot of peer-to-peer education. Yeah. And we do a lot of intense training with our orientation leaders for like 3 days on the ins and outs and the schedule and the resources and what you need to know and how do you respond to a situation and how do you answer a question that's difficult to ask and, all the things that could come up. And so I think our hope at the end of that 4-day period, right? So orientation starts on Thursday and goes through Sunday at about 1 or 2 o'clock. Our hope is saying, over this 4-day period, you've had enough experiences where you feel prepared enough to start classes. Right. Right. There's no way we're getting everybody 1,000% prepared. Yeah, right?
Of course. No way.
There's just no way.
Some of you weren't ready when you walked in the door.
Right. Exactly. And people are in different headspaces. Right. People have different emotions going on. Some people are nervous about things that other people aren't even considering. Yeah. Right. Like, it's just the whole gamut. But if we can get you relatively ready to go, then we think that you're going to be successful at that start. And to be honest, we know the importance of the first 6 weeks in the general health and well-being of a student. Yeah. And so that's why we put all this time and effort into it.
Yeah. I remember my orientation it put into perspective it reminded me exactly why I chose a small school over the big school.
Right.
Because I remember I was totally I was just such a handful for my orientation leaders.
I can only imagine. I can only imagine.
I was just I don't need this, whatever. Like,
right.
I was ready to go.
Right.
Ready for an experience. And I realized, because it was a little slower, more hands-on, it felt like someone was holding your hand.
Right.
But you got a lay of the land. And I remember at the end of the week, I was like, wait a minute, that was pretty productive.
Yeah.
Had I gone to the big school like that was an option, oh man, I'd be halfway to failing out already.
Right.
And so it really put it into perspective that you're part of a community.
Yep.
You have an opportunity to reinvent the narrative.
Yep.
Or continue it.
Absolutely.
I was just like, I'm me. This is what you get.
Sorry. No.
I'm very, very sorry.
Yeah.
This is what you get. And exactly like you said, some students, and that was where I had an opportunity really to, because I wanted a new experience. And so I got to bump shoulders with people, again, who grew up in towns of 300.
Totally.
And, who are probably nervous, and I'm sitting here like, this place is the size of my high school. Let's go. I'm running around.
Right.
I'm freaking some people out.
Right, exactly.
And
right.
I didn't even realize it.
Right.
It really put things into perspective that people come from so many different walks of life, different backgrounds.
Yep.
And you got an opportunity to learn from each other.
Yep.
And looking back on it, when you all walk across that stage and you finish that 4 years, it's like, wow. Who would have thought? Maybe we only said hi to each other when we walked past, but we were in the same LAR, the same orientation class, where we were each other's first friends.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's a really wonderful experience when you move on and you look back on it. You're like, wow, and you see someone who goes and does something, world changing. And you're like, who would have thought?
Yeah.
Whatever
in my LAR. Like, what in the world?
Really?
Right. No, totally. And I think the other thing that we really try to emphasize is it's so much about relationships.
Oh, so much.
Right? Because we value that just generally across campus.
Right.
But I think that's not always the easiest thing for people to pick up right away. Because you're nervous, you don't know these people, you believe they have the best intentions at heart, but it's really just this opportunity to be like, wow, there are people here who straight up just actually want to build a relationship with me, help me figure stuff out.
Right.
And so those OLs are those role models that say this is what this community is, this is the tone we want to set. And you're going to have folks all over the map on how excited are they, how outgoing are they, But it's this idea of saying in this LAR, you're going to have this fairly good, diverse microcosm of the larger campus. Yeah. And you're going to get this experience with these folks where you have this 101 class, that faculty member is your academic advisor for that first semester and first year potentially, and you're really connecting with them, and it's this group, and especially this year as we make, adjustments and adaptations to keep people safe and to basically, find the best solution we possibly can when there's a bunch of difficult choices to make. You're going to even find more that I think that group becomes this connection point for you where you have gotten time with them, you know? And you've been able to interact with them, even, physical distancing and wearing masks, you've still been able to be in the space with them, and so you're building that relationship. Right. And so, I would say that coming into the profession of student affairs, one of the first drivers for me, I was very involved here on campus, but one of the first drivers was that, when you get onto campus, you're going to meet these people who are just jacked up about your coming to campus. And you're kind of like, what? Why are you so excited?
What are you guys on? It's 7 a.m. I just woke up, please.
But they're just elated, right? And that was, I even remember that on my move in, that there was just there was this presence of these people who were just so excited. And it made me go I doubt they convinced this many people to lie, so they probably really are excited. And that's a big deal right off the bat, right?
And I think that orientation leader, you see them around campus, they're in your LAR class. It's, you build a relationship with all of them. It's great. So what can students and families, parents, guardians, yada, 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 all of the above. What can people expect just out of the whole experience coming here? What's to expect?
I'll kind of categorize it a little bit. So parents, guardians, loved ones, that's kind of one category. Students is a different category. One of the things that has just been a reality of having to respond to the pandemic is that, with COVID-19, we're having to think about how we, reduce the number of possible exposures to folks, right? And so one of the things that we just had to accept very early on, and it was a part of enrollment days that we did earlier this summer, right, where we did the virtual experience. You were part of that. You helped us in that capacity too. We haven't really been able to dump a ton of resources into that parent, family, guardian category, because at the end of the day, we've had to put such a high focus on students. And I know that may be a tension area for some families or guardians or loved ones. And just kind of, my honest, heartfelt response to that is just like, and I get it. I completely understand. And simultaneously, our intention for orientation is not just that we want to have like a dang good time for 4 days. We're also thinking about how do we set everyone up to be successful for those coming months. And we very well, if we don't do things well and try to protect people to the best of our ability, we can go off the rails, right? And so we've had to really think about that. So, when it comes to orientation and you're a parent, you're a loved one, you're a family member, there's really not a ton of programming specific to you, with the idea that we just recognize we want you to, we want your 2 guests to come with you, whoever that is for that student moving in. 2 guests come with you, help you get into your room. But then really at that point, we're asking those folks to depart from campus. And I get that it's not everyone's favorite idea, but we just want to keep the best guidelines we can and try to keep our exposure limited, right? And so there's really not a ton on that side of things, and I know that's difficult. But for the students, it's really about saying, like, it's all about their experience, right? And so for the students, I think the things to expect about the orientation time is, like, there's going to be a lot going on. And so you kind of got to put yourself in that headspace. Like, we are intentional about putting a lot of opportunities in front of you. A good chunk of those opportunities are required opportunities that we say, like, these are just non-negotiable. You need to know this information in advance of the semester. But there's also a lot of kind of, this is fun, entertainment, just time together, whatever it is, that students can choose to engage with. And so I think what I would encourage students to think about in advance is, this is a new environment. These are new people. I may know a handful of folks, maybe know somebody's coming in on the volleyball squad, maybe know somebody from my hometown or high school or whatever. But for the vast percentage, you don't know these people, right? And so expect that you're gonna be in environments where you're meeting a lot of people, you're interacting with people for the first time. I don't know about y'all, but in social situations where I, especially after we kind of moved through, the nation kind of moved through a really significant period of lockdown, and we all kind of like slowly started to come back out into the world, right? And we're wearing masks. It's a little awkward, right? There's a little like, how does all this social interaction work when I'm wearing a mask? So I think it's just everyone kind of expect that, we're going to be doing our best in the safest way possible to put you in experiences where you can actually connect with people, get to know them. And so expect that you're going to have a lot on your plate. It's not going to be like you come and you get 8 hours of downtime. Like, you are scheduled. You can go to the website and look at the schedule. You're scheduled for a big portion of the day. And it's because we believe that engagement in the community, information about resources is just so essential. Right? And if we just gave you 8 hours or 5 hours of downtime, there'd be a lot of other things that bubble to the surface. Right? So some folks would start to feel homesick. Some folks would be like, man, my roommate is way more annoying than I thought they were, right? Oh, man, I didn't bring my favorite thing, my snack that I thought I packed, and and now I'm like, my emotions have overtook me about how I don't have my thing with me that I should have, right? And so we just recognize the importance is in community, right? Like, if you're in community, you're able to move through those times a lot more, right? And then what happens is Sunday, the rest of the students move in. And so then you really, truly get this picture of, boom, this is actually campus now, right? Those first, 4 days, 3.5 days is really just first-year students. Then it's kind of this shift too. So I think expect, if you're a student, that you're going to have some full days. Look at the schedule. You can see it. It's right there. Expect that you'll be going to those things. Expect that you're going to be meeting a lot of people. Expect that you're probably going to be nervous. You may be anxious. There may be times that are a little challenging. And there may be things that are more nerve-wracking now than they have been in the past. And that expect also that, like, our campus is taking our response to COVID-19 very seriously. It's not a casual thing. We're not lighthearted about it. We believe that we want to create the best environment for our students. We want them to learn. We want them to grow. We want them to be in community, better themselves. And so if those things are true, we have to take that. We have to take the virus seriously, because we believe that without it, we compromise the opportunity to engage in the way we want to engage. And so that's kind of what I would put out there for folks to consider as what to expect.
So expect seriousness. serious fun.
Serious fun.
You know? But no, I think you hit the nail right on the head. To the part about, so parents can expect, move your kid in, see you later.
Right.
You know, and that's so funny because I always tell kids, well, the past, it used, you know, parents could come along, you eat lunch, and they do the little program maybe after. I remember that's how I my mom, like we moved in and I was like, all right, see ya.
Right.
Right?
Go.
And that's something I always regretted, right?
Right.
Because when you talk about that downtime, everyone else's parents stayed until like 3 or 4 o'clock.
Right.
And here I am like, did I rob my mom of an opportunity?
That's a great point. Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah. And to be specific to that, we are offering them, like if they're moving in around lunchtime, there is a lunch they can grab. But they won't be able to like go sit in the cafeteria. It'll be something like a grab and go thing.
Right.
And then the other thing that we've put together, so we used to have, this opportunity to kind of say goodbye. Right? Because it is this moment that we want you to actually pause and ask yourself, like, this is meaningful, this matters.
Right.
And like you said, you kind of regretted not taking the moment.
It took me until a year after graduation to realize, like, it was participating in a move-in day as an employee.
Right. And you were like,
I was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I robbed my mom of her chance to say bye.
Absolutely, right.
But that was just my personality at the time. I was like, what are you worried about? I'll be back
I'm
Christmas.
fine. Don't worry about it.
You want me out.
Exactly.
You know, but
yes,
just not even thinking about it.
And this year, so instead of being able to have kind of that, program where we have everybody together, because that would just be too many folks, we've basically put together like a sheet that will be in every student's room.
Yeah.
That's basically kind of like a worksheet, honestly, that's kind of just asking you honestly to think about, hey, parents, loved ones, guardians, what's something you're really proud about for your new student?
Yeah.
What about your tiger are you just really proud?
Right.
Hey, new student, what's something that you're just incredibly thankful for that these two folks or this individual helped make today happen, right? And so there's kind of like a worksheet to kind of create that thing. And here's the thing, I know there's going to be some students whose default is like, man, this is way too sappy. I can't get in my feelings right now. I'm not ready for that. My emotions are no way. I'm not tapping into those. Put up a wall. And I just know that's going to be the narrative for some kids, right? And so I'm really encouraging students. Like, I get it. And even for some loved ones, that would probably be the narrative. Like, I can't cry in my room. I can't cry in her room. Like, we just moved her in. I can't cry on her futon. I can't do that. Her roommate's here. Like, I get it. And like, there is emotion that's attached to this moment.
Oh, yeah.
Right? For both parties.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody walked out of this being like, that was casual. It's no big deal. I'll see him sometime. They've been in my home for so many years, but I just won't see him tomorrow. It's no big deal, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's an exercise that I'm thinking about. And then for those, parents, loved ones, guardians who are helping someone move in, the big thing that I've encouraged them to think about is, like, go do something afterwards to celebrate. It's a big moment.
Yeah.
You've helped this young adult get to this place.
Yeah.
That's a huge success.
Yeah.
I would be insanely proud of raising this person, being involved in their life.
Yeah.
And they made it to this point, and a dream and a goal that they had.
Yeah.
And so, like, go celebrate. Go do something that just honors everything you've poured into that.
Yeah.
So that while they're at orientation having a blast, you're at home, you're doing whatever. You're doing whatever celebration makes sense, right?
And some of you deserve to be proud, because if your kid was anything like me, it's like, wow.
I can't believe they made it.
I cannot believe we made it. He's alive. Like, I know some of you, thought about it. Like, can't do that. So it's going to be a great moment. It's going to be a big moment. I encourage all of you, let your parents and yourself experience that moment. From personal, right? I experienced it like after the fact, and I was like, oh man, I really messed that one up. All right, so the schedule is jam-packed, like we've said. What are some of the highlights quickly of the 4-day orientation? Yeah. Like maybe the highlights you can look forward to the most. It's obviously going to be a little bit different than previous orientations.
Absolutely. So one of the things that I would highlight, kind of day one, we have a traditional candle lighting ceremony.
Yeah.
That we have modified to make work for the situation. And that's just a really cool moment where it's kind of like igniting the passion for pursuing inquiry, and it's kind of like the faculty members for those LARs passing off this passion for learning and discovering new things. And so it's just this cool moment, happens in Castle Theater, and what's cool is then, 4 years later, you come back to that place to graduate. And so it's really a cool moment for that. We also have a number of like virtual events that we're doing where it'll be like a webinar that a student signs on to that will be different than years past, but I'm really excited about kind of the presentation and ability to engage in kind of that arena. And I think that students will also, generally these students have had this experience being in a virtual environment. It's not their first rodeo. They did it probably most of the last spring. So, but I think there's some cool things that presenters have planned in that process. And then the other thing that I actually think is nice is that you get an opportunity to actually meet with your LAR faculty member during orientation and actually get a session together. And so it's that group where you're like, whoa, this is like my group. Like these are my people who I get connected to right away. And we have a number of other like fun activities planned that are on the schedule. But that's kind of what I would highlight.
That's a really fun one. Now, Quint, you were a student here, so what do you remember most about your orientation?
About my orientation? I think I would just kind of go back to before, but I think I was, when I came to campus, I was really eager. I had come from a small town here in Nebraska. I was excited about the opportunities and excited about what existed and what was out here. And I was just really eager to connect with people, and I think people kind of get a sense of it, but I'm outgoing. I like to talk to people. I like to have fun conversations. And I think I was just surprised by how much the orientation leaders genuinely like conveyed care. Because I think that sometimes that can kind of just feel like a chore or a job. And I just think, our orientation leaders do this because they care about it. And I knew that even in that moment. And I was like, wow. And it was something that attracted me to wanting to do it later.
No, I remember Erin Deveries, my orientation leader. She was always like, oh, Kenny. She was like, oh, come on. Oh, Kenny. Like, I'd say something stupid. And she just, oh, Kenny.
It's all right.
It's okay.
We're going to get through this.
And Kevin Gunter, I remember you, buddy. Kevin Gunter was always like, Kenny. And then Erin would be like, Kenny, oh, come here. Come here. So what are you most looking forward to?
I think I'm very excited about the opportunity with our traditional students who had just finished high school and are now entering college, because we do have a number of students who transferring or kind of coming at a different path. But for our traditional students, I know that spring semester was not what you had hoped for. The end of your high school experience was just not what they had planned and hoped for. And granted, everyone has worked really hard to try to create the best opportunity inside every high school. But I'm really excited about the opportunity to create something here together. And for those students, you're entering into this new community, and I'm excited that our group gets to help you do that because it's this new thing in your life. And so I'm just excited that this year in particular, you have a group of traditional age students coming into college, for those who didn't have the spring probably that they hoped. And yes, there's going to be modifications to this fall, of course, obviously. But we still have a really cool opportunity to create something really cool and have a memorable moment, and to still feel like when you're done, man, I go here. Like, this is my home. And I'm just really excited to hopefully create that experience for these students who, in other words, maybe just had an end to that last phase of life that wasn't what they had hoped for.
That's beautiful. I'm getting goosebumps.
Good. That's the hope.
So, time for the drum roll. It's time for the live 5. This would be the part when like a thing would come up on your screen and like, whoops, God, screen, right? And if this was a game show, I remember one episode we talked about getting some prizes. Do we have those prizes yet? Still no. Okay. No prizes. So we don't have prizes. Just imagine there is a prize. So our live 5. Are you ready? Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Am I ready? I'm ready. I'm ready. All right, let's do this. So, question number 1. With what you know now, what advice would you give to your college self?
So this is advice I actually got like when I was in college. That was really informative for like the end part of my collegiate experience. So one of the things, and this is going to be Doane specific to Doane students. So a lot of Doane students come, and I think they're excited by the opportunities, and they are attracted because they feel like they can do a lot here on campus. And one of the things that we see over and over and over again is that students spread themselves really thin. And they dive into all these exciting things. And what ends up happening is that students have 3% to give to this club. They have 40% to give to this sport. They have, 30% to give to this academic work. They have 10% to give, and they spread themselves all the way out. And then they're not giving enough of themselves to any one thing or any few things. And so, like, in my experience, basically what I did is I came in, again, there was groups and clubs and people that were all new and exciting, and folks I had never interacted with who were here, And so I just dove head in, I was just like, oh yeah, student congress, sure. Club, sure. Start a rugby club, yeah. Like just do everything, right? And what I found myself is that even when I pushed myself to the max, I was still just stretched so thin,
right?
And then what happened is that anything that I did put into that work was just really diminished. And so my advice I would say is, like, choose 3 to 4 total things outside of your academic work that you are going to commit yourself to. So if football's one, football's one. If some other scholarship activity is one, that's one. If a club is one, that's one. Just truly go through your list and honestly say to yourself, because there's going to be a lot of opportunities.
Oh yeah.
And there's never a shortage of demand from groups, organizations, clubs, everything, where, like, we all want talented people among our ranks. Right? Like, you don't want to be a fraternity that has no talented people, right?
No.
That don't make no sense.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
So everybody wants to have the talented people.
Right.
And so many of our students come in so incredibly talented that, again, they just find themselves super spread out. And so choose 3, 4 things and just really commit to them.
I love that.
I just think that what you'll find is a depth and a richness from the experience.
Yeah.
And so, like, when I made that change in the second part of my time here at Doane, I briefly just mentioned the rugby club. So I was part of a group of people who started a rugby club that existed on campus for like 4 years.
Yeah.
And there was just this ascension and explosion where there was just all this buy-in and people are super excited. And we weren't like a athletics sponsored thing. We were just a club.
Yeah.
And we sought student congress funding, and we traveled, and we had jerseys, and it was the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
And we had a men's and a women's team.
Yeah.
And there are still people to this day who met on the rugby club and who are alum who are married because of the rugby club.
I still see shirts. Well, I saw a shirt like my freshman year. I was like, "Where's the rugby?
Where's rugby?
Where's rugby? I want to play. Like, let's go. Let's do this."
Right.
That's awesome.
But that's that sweet thing that because we all poured ourselves into it, we created this really beautiful thing. And granted, like, it grew and burnt out, and it was done. But that's one of the cool things that Doane you can actually do.
Right.
Is if there's something you're really, really passionate about, you most likely can find other people who are passionate about it.
Right.
You can build this beautiful thing.
Right.
And hopefully, if you do it well enough, it will sustain itself.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't, everyone goes, that was a cool thing while it lasted. We all love that it existed.
Yeah.
Right? And it can actually be part of general culture because we're a community. So, like, when you start a rugby club, if 60 people are doing it, it's a part of the buzz. People are talking. They're like, "You going to rugby?" Right? But if you're on a bigger campus and you start a club of 60, people are like, "Who?"
Right.
They go where? They meet at what building?
Like that exists?
Right? Like, is that on the east side? Do I get a bus to go there? Like, they don't know, right? And so, I think that's one of the sweet things. So choose 3 or 4 things, spend your energy and effort into those things, and then just enjoy the rest of your experience.
Yeah, that's awesome advice. I would tell myself, don't coast in academics. I was okay being a B student. I was totally just like, yeah, I'm fine.
Right.
And like looking back, I was like, you could have tried a little bit harder. Don't be one. You don't want to be one of those kids. It's like looks back and you're like, I could have tried harder.
Right.
That's my piece of advice to any of you. Don't coast in academics. Just don't do it. If you know you can do more on the academic side, do it. Because then all the professors know you coasted, and then they see you your senior year and tell you, hey, you totally coasted.
That's not like a real event that happened. That's just like hypothetical, right? Like they would say that. You've never experienced that.
JL Burton totally told me.
Totally hypothetical, but like they would say you coasted, and they would. But like that's never happened to me, so I don't know.
No, well, you probably didn't coast, so.
I'm just kidding.
I totally did. All right. Love you, JL. All right, so stop day.
Stop day.
Gotta love this community. Stop day. All right, so stop day, if you didn't know, if you haven't been listening, if you haven't watched any of the previous episodes, I'll put it this way, short and simple. It's Doane Christmas, all right? You stay up like when the spring comes, you smell the first 70-degree day, all the snow falls off of you, you know, you're like, coming undone. You're like, whoa, oh, is that birds chirping? Is that green grass? You know stop day's coming, all right? Stop day's the day when everything literally stops. Middle of the day, well, actually the night before, boom, dinner time, class president comes in and says, hey, it's stop day. You stop. No class the next day regardless. If there was a test, it's not there anymore. If there's a quiz, it's not there anymore. If you had homework that you totally didn't do, guess what? You still got to do that because it'll be due when you get back. But everything's fun. There's games, fun, laughter, food, whole 9 yards, all right? Stop day. Got to love it. Happens in the spring. So with that being said, our day of Doane Christmas where we stop everything, what part of your day would you like to stop the most?
I think it's just emails, man. I think that's a super common thing for professionals to say, but they can be the bane of your existence.
Oh, yeah.
If you don't have some sort of system for for how you're organizing them, some people kind of joke with me because I often kind of make a joke that I don't read for fun a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Because I read emails every day. So, by the time I'm done with emails of the day, I've read 6 chapters, so I'm good. But yeah, I just think, I'm one who really believes in being able to stop in someone's office or even pick up the phone.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And so, I've got my system for emails, but goodness gracious, we really email each other a lot about a lot,
Yeah. Meetings that could have been emails.
Right, absolutely, right. And it's so I think the other thing I've seen during COVID is that we also G-Chat. We use the Google Chat a lot. And it's a mixed bag of things for sure on how much, time do you have to commit to that or not. But yeah, for me it would probably be emails.
Awesome.
And if I can say one quick thing about Stop Day. So Stop Day, really cool experience. I was involved in Student Congress all 4 years of my time here on campus. And I just think Stop Day is a really cool moment where you see Student Congress putting on all the events for students.
Yeah.
And it's this community event, And this last year we had a session where someone we did a talent show, Doane's Most Talented, right? Student Congress puts it on, and then students get the opportunity to go put up their talents, right? And there was a first-year student, pretty shy, a little more reserved.
Yeah.
And he was going to sing a song, and in front of and it's a pretty fully packed, you're
crowd.
right, you're 600 students in the auditorium or whatever. And it's pretty quiet, and he starts singing. And actually, before he starts singing, he says I'm singing this song for I believe it was for his grandfather who passed away.
Yeah.
And he started singing, and everybody got behind him and started clapping onto the beat. And so you have this first-year student who is pretty quiet, pretty reserved, doesn't always, put himself out there.
Yeah.
Takes this opportunity, does it, and the campus just puts their arms around him.
Yeah.
And everybody's just clapping along as he's singing. And it's this beautiful moment where I think students fully embrace, the day one of the biggest reasons we do this is to remind each other that even as we have our own difficulties and struggles and things that are stressful, we're a community.
We're all here together.
Exactly.
Oh, that's goosebumps.
Yeah.
So, excuses at Institution of Higher Learning. Everyone's got them just like armpits, right?
Yeah.
What is the worst excuse you've ever heard from a student or a coworker?
I'm going to choose a pretty classic one, and I'll explain kind of the worst part of it. But it's just especially from students.
Yeah.
I didn't get that email, or I didn't see that email.
Heard
and
this one.
It's a really rough place to be, I think, as because I teach some courses, so in that capacity or in my staff capacity, and it's really tough because it's kind of an agreed upon thing that everybody kind of signs an invisible contract on that says you're gonna get emails,
check them every day,
and you've got to check them. It's just an unnegotiable part of communication, right? Your university's not gonna jump on Snapchat and be everything's sent via Snapchat. We've committed to email. And so is the business world.
Right.
And so part of me is also on the career side of things trying to prepare students for emails is just a part of being a professional.
Part of it.
Unavoidable part of
right.
it. And so I think for me what's worst about that is that it feels like it's an effort thing.
Yeah.
Because every student has an email.
Yeah.
And they've got to know how to sign on to it.
Yeah.
And so it's just about an effort. And for some students, they don't have the structure. They don't have the routine.
Right.
I get it. Come talk to me. If that's you, come talk to me.
Right.
Because I was that kid when I came to campus. I was that kid who was not good at scheduling.
Yeah.
And so I wrote everything just on my hand. And my schedule was just my whole first 2 years. Everybody else had smartphones. I didn't. So I just wrote everything on my hand, and this was my schedule. That was a really great way to make sure I didn't miss what I was supposed to be at, right?
Yeah.
And so I get that you have to build those habits and those structures, but you got to look at email. It's just a part of how we do business.
You gotta look at your emails. I mean, it's just that simple. Fail or look at your emails.
Right.
You choose.
Right.
So, again, institution of higher learning.
Yeah.
A lot of us are lifelong learners.
Right.
With that being said, what was the last thing you've learned?
Last thing I've learned. As a member of my church, I serve on the diaconate.
Yeah.
So I'm a deacon at my church.
Yeah.
And we're kind of doing this process of understanding like your wellness and your health around your spirituality. And one of the things that kind of come up for me is kind of a thing, and this is a little more personal, I guess, than like an academic thing, but I think it's about self-discovery. I very much believe that the education here is about self-discovery.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I kind of come to some conclusions kind of about one of the emotions that I think, like when I'm stressed or anxious, that comes out, which is anger, and it's always kind of been that way. And if I don't have like good outlets, like I don't work out, or I don't have sports, or I don't, like I don't have something to get out my energy, I can find myself being angrier than I should be about things that are silly.
Yeah.
Right? And so in that kind of self-discovery, I was also kind of understanding more about kind of like my lineage and my family's history around like what anger has meant inside my family, and how has it made manifest in certain family members, and like what's the difference between my uncle's experience and my dad's experience, and how has anger then been made manifest inside of our, and we did kind of a geology tree where you kind of go backwards and start to look at some of those things. And it was just good for me. It was part of that self-evaluation, right? Where you're asking yourself good questions, you're led by good literature, and you kind of assess for yourself, why did these things come to be?
Right.
Have I ever examined them?
Right.
Why do I need to examine them?
Wow. Now that's a great thing to learn.
Yeah.
Now I can't even top. That's
great.
Thank
you. I appreciate it.
That's wonderful. So we'll get down to our fifth question.
Okay.
What's your favorite spot on campus?
Favorite spot on campus? So everybody talks about outdoors.
Yeah.
Because outdoors is gorgeous, and it was a big thing for me. I think I'm going to take a curveball, though.
Okay.
So Hansen Hall was a big part of my experience here on campus, because like I had said before, I was in the Directions program, which is housed in Hansen your first year. And then I lived in Hansen all 4 years of my time here. And 2 of those years I was the CA or the RA for the Directions students. And so I'm actually going to say that the Hansen first floor CA suite is probably my favorite spot on campus. Because I was in that suite for 2 years with the same roommate, and I lived with the same guy all 4 years of college. And it was just this really sweet place where, at that time I was serving as a CA for those group of first year students. I was serving as a mentor in a lot of ways. So I had all these really sweet and thoughtful interactions and developmental conversations. But it was also this phase where my roommate and I, John, really were becoming who we were going to become as adults. And so we were in this kind of phase of, we've lived in this building, but now these 2 years, it's this full development of like the things we've learned and what they mean for the future.
Right.
And so then we kind of got to discover what we wanted our time to be like, and what memories did we want to make, and all those things that were important to us. And so I'm going to say, I think it's Hansen 107, I think is the CA suite. But that was just, Hansen Hall was a very developmental part of it for me. I really cared about the community we had there, and is a big marker of my time.
Wow. Yeah, mine is the con.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love the con.
Speech.
It's an incredible space. The performance is in there, right?
Yeah, of course.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Speech was up there. Spent a lot of time up there. I forget I had a second one. Just don't remember where.
Probably outdoors, right? There's some beautiful place that we all have.
I think so.
Is it Heckman?
Oh no, the downstairs part of the library. No.
Oh, downstairs part of the library.
Yeah, I would go and skate. I'd go try to find the old. When I was stressed, I'd just go look at the history.
Yeah.
And I try to find the oldest book. I found a textbook given to the college by David Brainerd Perry himself in 1873. It's a science textbook. It's on the 4th row to the right, downstairs. You can find books well over 100 years old down there. It's crazy.
That's great.
Gotta love it.
Yeah.
All right, so looks like we have some questions. You guys love asking questions out there.
Love it.
So let's see if these are some questions worth answering, huh?
Okay.
All right. Okay, so from Tucker. How you doing, Tucker? All right, what would we do if we have a job meeting on one of the days of orientation?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, I assume you're like, you got to go to work is the question.
Yeah, that's
right?
what I would assume.
Yeah. So, Tucker, what I would say is let me know. So you can just email me. I'm the only Geis in the whole Doane directory, but Quint Geis is how you'd find me. And then let me know like when that is, what that looks like. Like I said before, there are sessions that are required and there are sessions that are optional. And just kind of depending on what the schedule looks like will inform that, right? If it's an optional thing, then no big deal. You go do that. We'll try to catch you up. If it is a required thing, we're probably going to have you on the backside basically follow up on recordings of that material because it's so essential that we recognize that if you don't get the material, you just aren't going to be in the place we want you to be in advance of the semester. So basically all I would say is just email me, Tucker, and let me know, and we'll get it figured out, and we'll work out the details. But like I said, there's some really important sessions that we really, really don't want you to miss and are just influential in your first couple days.
Yeah. From Potter Spark, will we get an email with information about orientation?
Totally. So no, you got your email about move-in, so there's all the info there. Everything else is on the website, so you can just go to the website. We didn't feel like we needed to reiterate that information. You can see there, like the first thing is something that actually happens in the residence hall. Like the first part of orientation happens in the residence halls, and is the connection to your CA, your really important on-the-floor person, like Megan came and talked about. And so like your first thing happens there, and then it transitions to the next thing. And so when you check in, you will also get like your name tag, the schedules, all the information about orientation. That's like personalized to you. You get a first year T-shirt, stuff like that. So no, there isn't going to be any additional information sent out because we kind of wanted to point people back towards that webpage. Because there's other good information on there too that we want you to look at.
From Jennifer A. Hi, Jennifer. Our son's check-in is the 12th. Will he be able to come with us to Lincoln on the 13th?
So, you know, we have, if you look at that schedule, the 13th is move-in day. So from, I think it's like 8 to 4 is just move-in time. So if your son has a special reason why he's moving in on the 12th and he has approval, I assume from athletics, that's really the only reason a first-year student would be moving in on the 12th. Then on the 13th, during that move-in time, he's already moved in. So that part isn't any stress on our backs. But as soon as you see that first kind of meeting, I think at 4 o'clock, we really need your son to be back for that because that's, again, it's the introduction, it's the start. So that's kind of what I would offer for that. And if you have questions, again, reach out to me, Quentin.Geis.
Being an out-of-state student, I couldn't miss any of the meetings. So I didn't have anywhere to go.
You were like,
I couldn't even
hiding in my room.
Like, where am I going to go? All right, from Christy. Hey, Christy, how you doing? Is there a place online to see the dimensions of a room? We're trying to plan what to bring, and with the limited time to move in, it would be good to know the room dimension.
I know this has been a question in the past, and I know that Res Life knows that. I believe on the Res Life website, they have like as much information as they're going to basically provide. So basically, it's like a template of a room. You're not, at this point, going to get a room 107 is this, room 109 is this. So, you know, what I would say is that most of our students are moving into traditional style residence hall. And like I said, I believe the dimensions are online, and you're sharing that space with another student, right? And so you've got your rectangle that's yours. In almost every space, I believe.
Unless you're living in Hansen.
Right. But even that scenario, I mean, you're in a suite, but you're still in a room with just one other person, right? Like you're in a suite of 7 people, 8 people, but in that suite there's rooms, and you're in a room with another person. And so what I would say is just, you know, you'd be able to bunk your bed, and so that's something that I would always encourage people to think about to save a little bit of space. And I know that there's kind of limited time, and totally understand that concern, Christy, and that's something that everybody is going to kind of be battling with. But, you know, the other thing is that we also see the value, you know, you can set up the room to your best ability, and then also encouraging your student, this is a shared space, which may be very different for many of our students, right? A lot of students are privileged enough to have their own room.
Oh, I was the only kid.
Right? And so this idea that you're now going into a space and it's a shared one is something that's a pretty new agreement. And so I would also say that, you know, Chris, for you and your Tiger, they're going to have a new experience with whoever their roommate is, and they're going to have to figure out together. And so that's also another thing we kind of put as a, you know, another emphasis that can happen with a short move-in. So, yeah, I would go to the website, see what you can find there. otherwise, like I'd say, just come with your best idea of kind of the dimensions of that rectangle.
Yeah. Here's a hack. If you are okay with a lofted bed, I eventually got tired of it, but it worked really well the first 6 months of my freshman year. I lofted the bed. I put the desk and the dresser under the lofted bed, and it gave me a lot more space.
Ton of space.
My roommate lofted his bed, and we put a futon under there.
Ton of space.
If you loft your bed, you get a ton of space. Now you do have to climb up there, and it can get annoying when you have 6 a.m. practice.
Right.
But that's okay. If you don't have 6 a.m. practice, who knows? That's a life hack.
There you go.
So from Tucker, great question, Tucker. How you doing? I hope your day is going well. What is the expectation for off-campus living students, or what to bring? Yeah.
It's a good question, Tucker. If you're referring to orientation, I'm going to answer that question, I guess. So there isn't necessarily an expectation on what you need to bring to orientation other than your presence. I would say that your lanyard and your name tag, which you would get at check-in. So if you're an off-campus living student, our residence life team is still emailing you because you still need to check in. There's things you still need to get accomplished. So, there's a difference between checking in at Haddix and moving into your residence hall. Those are two different things, right? And so you still need to go to Haddix, check in. You'll get the information you need. When it comes to what do you need to bring for orientation, bring yourself, eager spirit, wear your name tag with your lanyard so you don't forget your group or your schedule, because that's all going to be housed there. You really don't need to bring anything else. That's what we're asking on-campus students to bring as well.
Great answer. From Morgan. Hey, Morgan. How you doing? Hope you're doing great. All right. What should we expect about orientation? Are there specific activities, or is it just getting familiar with campus?
Sure. So, Morgan, I tell you, go back to the website, look at the schedule. I know there's not like an insane amount of detail.
Right.
But one of the things that is the beautiful thing COVID has brought us, beautiful, is that we have to be hyper flexible. Right. And so, we can't give you every single detail of every single thing.
Yeah.
One, because very few people would want to read that. Second of all, because it's kind of this idea that this is a part of a bigger program of planned activities. You can see what's there. You can see what's on the website. You can get a general sense of what you'd be doing during that time, right? And if you have specific questions, again, feel free to email me. But really, it's expect, again, like I said in an earlier question, expect that you're going to be with this orientation group. You're going to be spending a lot of time with them.
Right.
You're going to meet your LAR faculty, who is going to be also your academic advisor. You're going to have some events that are larger events, but are very well socially distanced, spread out with masks. I would say to you, expect to wear a mask a lot.
Yeah.
Bring masks.
Exactly.
We're trying to protect each other. We're trying to have a good semester. Otherwise, I would say, expect that in those activities, you're going to be guided.
Yeah.
So you don't got to come with I know everything on this, because it's you're guided. That's why there's orientation leaders. That's why there's a program.
Right.
We're going to help you. We're going to guide you. We've done this before. We believe in kind of this opportunity for you. So you don't have to know everything, because we're going to really help you through it all.
And our last question from Jen. Hey, Jen. Hope everything's going good. How does orientation activities vary for athletes? For example, I have a team dinner on Friday night during one of the activities.
Great question, Jen. So you're gonna know when you get your schedule here on campus, when you check in, you're gonna know which sessions are required and which ones aren't. So what you're gonna see is that we're not requiring you to go to dinner. So that if you have a team dinner or you have some team activity planned, then you do that as your team, right? And so you're going to get that. There isn't an indication on the website. It's only going to be on your individual schedules about what's required and what's not. There's a lot of flexibility with that. I would also say we coordinated with athletics. So obviously, it's a smaller campus. We care about our athletes. Very important that you have a good, successful start to your season. So we did a lot of coordination where your coaches have the schedule. Your coaches know what's required, what's not. The agreed upon idea was if it's required, that you're going to be at it. And the times that there are non-required activities, you're going to have freedom that if your coach needs to schedule something, you schedule. So dinner wouldn't be required. You're going to see a number of different kind of what I would call fun activities.
Yeah.
Those aren't required. I'm not going to make you go do those, right? So your coach may have practice starting the 15th, that you have in the evening at some time. So it's a mixture. Like I said, your schedule that you get during check-in will clarify exactly that. But just know, we've done coordination with the coaches. We're not putting you in a lot of places of tension. And here's the thing I always try to remind people. If you do run into some tension, let's say a coach is telling you one thing, your OL is telling you another thing, it's very rare that someone's just going to like hate each other after that.
Yeah.
Like it's going to be like, okay, if your coach is telling you then you need to go. This is not a required session. Go. We'll figure it out.
Yep.
We'll get you the information you need.
Yeah.
We're not going to bail on anybody. We're not going to be overly upset about anybody. Nobody's going to get an uber passive-aggressive email.
Right.
Like, this is a community of people.
Right.
We understand you have responsibilities in one arena. If you are doing your best and you're putting in your full effort,
Yeah.
that's really all we can ever ask for.
Boom.
Right? So it's like, if you could communicate to your orientation leader that something came up,
Right.
let them know, then
Yeah.
they know. We don't have to worry about you. Everybody's good. We move on.
Yeah.
Right? So I think it's just a lot about communication. You'll get the more specific about what's required, what's not here when you do check in.
Boom. Boom. I mean, guys, we took about an hour. A little longer than normal, but it was great. All the content was great. If you couldn't sacrifice an hour to get that content, well, guess what? Your class lasts about an hour. So what do you want me to do? It's been great. I can't wait to see you all on campus. With that being said, just live it up, guys. The experience is coming. A lot of you are preparing for this. It's going to be a transition. It's going to be great. So excited to have you here. Bring a positive mental attitude through all of this. That's the one piece of advice I can give you all. Negativity gets you nowhere in life, okay? Negative people aren't usually the most successful people, are they? No. Bring positivity, because guess what? Everyone has to be flexible. Everyone has to do something a little different. Be positive. Bring a smile. Even tape a smile to your to your mask. I'll see it. And we look forward to seeing you all. That's kind of all we have. We're going to close out here. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the day. Again, I just can't not thank Quint enough for coming on and giving us some awesome discussion, awesome content.
Thank you.
I can't thank you all enough for tuning in. And I really cannot express enough how excited I am that we're going to see you here on campus. You're going to start a wonderful, excellent, amazing journey to the rest of your life. All right? And I'm so glad you chose it to be here. Can't wait. Be great.